Hello everyone, it's Dale here. In this video, I'm going to show you a couple of simple VWAP setups. I'm going to show you a setup that you can use when the market is going sideways, and I'm going to show you a setup which you use when the market is trending. And as a bonus, I'll show you how you can add a volume profile to those setups to even more improve their win rate. So let's get to it.
VWAP setup number 1. It has very original name, rotation setup, and it's called a rotation setup because I use it when there is a rotation. So the first thing with this setup is identify a rotation. As I said, you do that by looking at the first deviations. So you want to see deviations going sideways, first deviation. So this gray line, this is a first deviation, moves sideways. This one too. So this is a rotation, right? We identified a rotation. Now it gets real simple. You go short when the price hits this first deviation, and you go long when the price hits this deviation. This lower deviation is a support. This one is a resistance. The price is moving between those two, between this support and this resistance. So let me delete that. If you look at the picture, in here the price hit the first deviation, you go long. Again in here, another long from here. Then from this deviation, there is a short from this place, short from this place. All right, so that's how basically you can trade this rotation setup. Take profit is the VWAP. It doesn't need to be, but in my experience, it's pretty solid place to take your profit. All right, so VWAP line, yellow line, works as a magnet, and it is a nice place to take your profits. Now, another example of this rotation setup. Let's first have a look at the first deviations, this one and this one. They are moving sideways, they are moving horizontally, which means that the market is calm and there is a rotation. So we can start looking for the rotation setup. This deviation line is a support. This one is a resistance. So whenever the price hits the resistance or the support, you can enter a trade. All right, so short from here, short from here, short from here, another touch in here, another one, another one. If the price made it, for example, in here to this place, it would be a long. All right, it is as simple as that. So that's the rotation setup. The second setup also has a very original name. It's called the trend setup because you trade it when there is a trend. What I'm going to show you is a short trade scenario. All right, so I'm going to be talking about shorts now. The first thing you want to do is identify a trend. Again, it is best to identify a trend using the first deviations. So in this case, it's actually pretty visible if you look at the candles, right? The price is just moving downwards. No way this was a rotation. But anyways, let's stick to the rules. First deviation heading downwards. This is a strong downtrend. So we can start looking for the trend setup. And what you want to see is price moving below the first deviation, like in here. Price is moving below it, and what we are waiting for is a pullback to the first deviation. In here, the price made the pullback, touched the first deviation. What you want to do is enter a short from this place, all right, to participate in a downtrend. The price is moving downwards, and the logic behind this setup is you want to participate in a downtrend. You're looking for a place to do that. The best place is to look for pullback and enter a short from the place where the price hit at the first deviation. All right, that's it. It is as simple as that. Another example of the same thing. First deviation is heading downwards. So there's a trend. It's a pretty clear downtrend. The price is moving below the first deviation. That's what you want to see. And what you are waiting for is this pullback. Price makes a pullback to the first deviation. When it hits it, you go short. You go in the direction of the trend. You want to participate in the trend. Right? Pretty simple, isn't it? Now, let me very briefly go through the trend setup long trade scenario. It's basically the same, only reversed, so I'm going to go through it more quickly. First thing you want to do is identify a trend. Obviously, you want to identify an uptrend. So if you look at this picture, first deviation moving vertically, moving upwards. This tells you that the price and volumes too are shifting upwards. So you want to see the price above the first deviation, like in here, and what you're waiting for is pullback to the first deviation. When the price hits the first deviation, like in here, you enter along, you enter in the direction of the trend because you want to participate in that trend, right? So that's the trend setup. One more picture of that. So first deviation moving vertically, moving upwards. This tells you that there's an uptrend, and you want to see price moving above that, above the first deviation. It's above the first deviation for the whole time actually. So you just need to wait for the pullbacks. First pullback in here, you go long. Another one in here, another long. Now this place, the price missed the entry, no trade from there. Another touch, another one, another one. Now, in all cases, it's not that easy, that simple. This is just a nice trade scenario where there was a strong uptrend, right? Now, I'll do just a little recap of the setups. I know that they are pretty simple, but I think it's important to do as many recaps as possible. So the first setup, a rotation setup, what you want to see is a rotation, deviations moving sideways, and whenever the price hits those deviations, you want to enter a trade. So this is a support, you want to go long from there. This one is a resistance, you want to go short from there. VWAP is the magnet. VWAP is the take profit. Well, it doesn't need to be the take profit. I don't really like to set a hard rule to that, but it is a good idea to place your take profit at the VWAP. Now, trend setup. You use this one when there's a trend. In this picture, there's a downtrend because the first deviation is moving downwards. What you are waiting for is a pullback. When the price touches the VWAP, you enter a trade, you enter a short in the direction of the overall trend. Oh, this brings me to the next part. Favorite combination, VWAP plus volume profile. Let's get to the picture. In here, in this blue rectangle, there is area where heavy volumes get accumulated. In this area, the heaviest volume peak was in here. So, based on what I told you, this should work as a strong support or resistance zone. This price level. Alright? So this is what the volume profile tells us. Now, let's have a look at the VWAP. This is a daily chart and this is a yearly VWAP. And let's have a look at the first deviation. Because in here, first deviation is going downwards, which means downtrend. And when there is a downtrend, you're looking for the trend setup on VWAP. So what you want to see is the price moving below the first deviation, like in here, in this area, and you're waiting for a pullback, right? You remember? So, in here, the price touches the first deviation, and it also touches the place where the volumes in here were the heaviest. It touches this blue line. So at this place, you actually got the short confirmed by two completely independent trading setups. Setup which is called volume accumulation setup, it's a volume profile setup, and the VWAP trend setup. Those two signals meet in here, and that's what I like to see. You go short from there. That's a confluence I'm usually looking for. Alright, confluence like that. So this was sort of long-term scenario, but let me show you intraday trading scenario. This is a 30-minute chart, US dollar Swiss franc. What we had in here was also a heavy volume area created in this little rotation right there. As you can see, there were heavy volumes created there. From that place, buying activity started, which makes me think that in this area, strong buyers were building up their positions and then they pushed with aggressive market orders the price upwards. Now, based on that, this should be strong support. Heaviest volumes from this volume cluster area were right there. So this should work as a support. Now let me delete that and let's have a look at the VWAP. Now, this is the first deviation from the previous day. This is what caught my eye. First deviation from a previous day. The day ends in here. But what the software does is it prints a dotted line, this gray dotted line, I highlighted it in yellow in the picture, and it prints the level where the first deviation from the previous day ended. This also should work as a support. This is the rotation setup, the support from the rotation setup. So we have a VWAP setup telling you to go long from there, but in my case, I wouldn't really be into that trade if there weren't those volumes. This wouldn't be strong enough for me to enter long, but there's the confirmation, there's the volume-based confirmation. Support in here. So two signals telling me that there is a strong support. VWAP telling me to go long, volume profiles telling me to go long. So the best thing to do is actually go long, right? So that was intraday trading scenario. Now one more example. This is a 60-minute chart, US dollar Japanese yen. And in here, as you can see right there in this rotation, massive volumes got accumulated. From this area, strong buying activity started. This indicates that in this heavy volume area, buyers were building up slowly their buying positions. Then they pushed aggressively with market orders the price upwards. So let me delete that and let's have a look at where the volumes were the heaviest in this volume cluster. In here, at this place, right? This is where the volume profile is the thickest. This is the most significant place. So based on the volume profile logic, this should work as a support. Now let's have a look at the VWAP and the deviations. Now this gray line, which I highlighted in yellow, is the first deviation. What it does, it's getting closer to the support. Now it hits it. And what also happens, there's a pullback. The price makes it back to this level, hits the VWAP, hits the volume-based support. And both those, the VWAP and the volume profile, tell you to go long from there. Alright, so confluence of VWAP and volume profile. That's what you want to see. That's, in my opinion, the best way to use the VWAP. Now you can of course use VWAP as a standalone strategy without using anything else, but combining with volume profile or also with price action actually is how I personally prefer to use VWAP. Now the cool thing about the VWAP is also you can combine it with your own trading strategies. So if you are not using volume profile, if you are not trading using price action, if you have completely different set of rules for your trading, you can always add VWAP to that.